Hey everyone, I'm here in the Pioneertown Mountains Preserve. This is actually the first preserve from the Wildlands Conservancy, if you're familiar with that group. Basically a private protected park here in Southern California. We're right in between Joshua Tree, which is back there, and the San Gorgonio Wilderness. So it's a bit of a transition area. Really, really beautiful hike. We're going to go on the Indian Trail loop, and we're going to do a little side trip up to Chaparrosa Peak, which is around 5,500 feet, has a marker named Peak, and it's a really mellow hike, which is definitely off the beaten path. Now, as always, I have a full guide for this on HikingGuy.com. Please go there and visit it before you head out here. Make sure it's open and all that good stuff. And as always, I could not do these free guides without your help and support. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all of that. And an easy way to support me if you're liking the video is just to click the little thumbs up. So thanks for that in advance. All right, let me show you this really cool hike.
All right, so we're going to start from the lower parking area, and that first left-hand turn here, you can see we can go up to the upper parking area, but the first left-hand turn, you're going to see a sign for the Chaparrosa Trail and some bus parking. That's where we're going to go to start the hike. It's a loop, but we're going to go to the top of this road. At the very top on the right-hand side, I believe is the caretaker's residence over here. But we're not going to go in there. We're going to go left and then just walk through this little parking lot. You can see there's a trail sign here pointing us in the right direction. But all the way at the end of the fence, there is an entrance to the trail. There's a trail register where you'll sign in and just let them know what time you're coming back in case there's an issue. Here you can see there's the trail register. And then from there, you just walk a few feet and you will see the official start of the Chaparrosa Trail, which is part of the Indian Loop Trail right here. You can see 3.3 miles to the summit. That's going to be our next stop. And right from the gun, the trail is really easy to follow. It's very well maintained and overall a pleasant and easy navigation experience. You can see there's these signposts, these trail posts along the way. And the trail is marked on either side for a lot of it with stones and rocks. Really, really well done. In the beginning, it's a little bit of up and down, and there's a few washes that we're going to cross, and at some point you're going to be going up in the wash. But again, all pretty straightforward, and you can see there's little steps here and another trail sign up at the top. Really pleasant trail. Now we're going to start the climb. We're going to climb about 1,000 feet or so up to the summit. There's about 1,600 feet of climbing total because it rolls a little bit. But the climb's going to wind up, and you can see it's a little bit steep, but it's nothing too crazy if you're used to doing climbs here in Southern California. It's pretty straightforward. And eventually the views are going to open up to the west, and in the west is Big Bear and Onyx Peak. There's three little bumps in the middle there. It's called the Three Sisters. Three peaks down there, but really, really beautiful terrain. Eventually, we're going to gain the ridge over here, and directly in front of us are the high peaks in Joshua Tree National Park. Quail Peak and some of the others are down there. And we're going to wind around and basically follow the ridge up as we go here. Now, off to the left is a little mountain range called the Sawtooths. It's not the Sawtooths, obviously, farther north, but there are a little version of the Sawtooths here in Southern California. Again, really beautiful to look at and really well marked here as we continue on. Now we get some better views into the Big Bear area. The dark peak straight ahead is Onyx Peak. I do have a guide on the website to get up there too on HikingGuy.com, and you can actually see this area from the peak as well. So it's kind of a cool area. When we get to the ridge, we're going to do a little bit of rollers before we go up to the summit. And it's going to roll like this probably for the next 2 miles or so before we get to Pipes Canyon. Again, really cool area here. Very lush. This was also basically destroyed in the Sawtooth Fire. There used to be a lot more pinyon pines here, and now it's mainly scrub. Now when we get to this junction, this is an important one. We're going to make the left to go up to the peak, but when we come back down, we're going to go on the Indian Springs Trail, which is off to the right here. But for now, we're going to make the left, and in 0.6 miles, we will be up at Chaparrosa Peak, 5,541 feet, 40 feet, something like that. Now, this trail is also easy to follow. It's not quite as well worn as the loop, but I didn't have any problem figuring out where the trail was as we went up here. Eventually, you'll gain the ridge, and there's the peak right in front of us. We just have a little bit of a steep climb once we get up to there. You can see all this volcanic rock on the ground. Really, really cool. And then back to the left are the sawtooths and the high peaks in Joshua Tree. There are some little switchbacks on this section, nothing too formal, but there are little back and forth sections to make it easier for you as you climb up here. From the shot, you can kind of get an idea of the steepness. And again, it's steep, but it's not too far, not too long. Then when we get to the top, we're at Chaparrosa Peak. There are the high peaks up by Big Bear. There's a survey marker here, trail register. And then to the south, you'll be able to see San Jacinto and some of the foothills. There are the Three Sisters, Onyx Peak up in the distance. And when we're done up at the summit, we're just going to go back the way we came, and we're going to head back down to that last junction at the loop where that post was. And it's a little steep on the way down, but you should be okay. And then when we get down to the post, we're going to make the left and head on the Indian Springs Trail. Here you can see the Indian Springs is part of the Indian Loop. And for the next mile or so, it's basically rolling terrain. There's ups, there's downs, there's nothing too tough. It's not a straight downhill, but you're not going to go higher than Chaparrosa Peak. Here you can see some evidence of the fire. It was really devastating. I have some of the images of that on the website and the guide. And here you can see the trail is still well marked. We're kind of looping around a little bit, getting different views of the peaks around us. And eventually we're going to loop up to the north and then eventually to the east. And once we get east, we're going to enter a kind of narrow canyon here. And we're going to start a steep downhill section. And this isn't Pipes Canyon yet. This is still the Indian Springs Trail. But you're going to go down here, and if you have trekking poles, it might be helpful on here. But it's not too long, nothing too crazy, and there are little sections like this where we have stairs to help us down along the way. Overall, very pleasant, and we do have the trail posts as well, marking the trail as it heads down the wash. You're really not going to be able to get out of the wash here unless you climb up the side of the hill. So it's not too tricky, but it does wind back and forth a little bit. Eventually at the bottom, we're going to come to a big wide clearing, and this is Pipes Canyon. Now there used to be actually a road that went up from there and a trail that went up from there. Right now it's closed because of the lake fire. But there used to be a road, and when the Wildlands Conservancy bought this land, they actually ripped the road up. There's the trail sign, and from here on out, we're basically going to hike down along Pipes Wash and Pipes Canyon down here. All pretty straightforward, and it definitely gets more lush as we go. This is one of my favorite places here, and you can tell why this is a good corridor for wildlife because they have water. It runs most of the year. It used to run a lot more frequently. There used to be actually a beach at the bottom called Yucca Beach, a big sandy beach where this creek came out. Not anymore because of climate change, but you can see it still is pretty lush as we go through these little tunnels of vegetation here. Very cool and very different experience than we had earlier when we were on the climb. Now there are some crossings of Pipes Wash, probably about a half a dozen as we go back and forth here, but unless it's really raging, it shouldn't be a big deal. Now here we are at Olson's Ruins, and they're up to the left, up a little spur. Now Olson was a Swede. He was also an onyx miner here in the 1920s, and these ruins were built in the 1930s. You can explore. There's not much, just some of the ruins here. And I have a little bit about his story on the website as well. He was tragically murdered here in 1945, but interesting guy, interesting story. From there, we're just going to continue heading down along the wash, down back towards the parking area. And it's all pretty straightforward. Trail is well marked. There's rocks. There's little posts in the middle like this to let you know where you're going. There's a little turnout too, where you can see some petroglyphs as we get back towards the beginning, and also some of these stream crossings like we had earlier. And this is all downhill and pretty cruisy, and then eventually you're going to reach the gate. At this point, you're just about back. You're just going to go through this gate, go straight down the path, and then you come back to the visitor center and parking area. And that is the loop, about 8 miles altogether. Let me show you what this looks like on a map now. All right, so here's the loop. We're going to do it clockwise. You can do it either way. Some people like it counterclockwise. I like doing this climb first and hitting the peak and then having this long kind of cruisy downhill. But here's the parking area, and let me just show you the lay of the land here. And I have this on the website as well. But when you first pull in, it's actually a sand road, but you can do this with low clearance vehicles. We're going to park right here, but there are parking areas here, and there's a trail board right here and some facilities. We're going to go up to that bus parking lot, go on the trail here, and then this is where we went down, up along the wash. We follow the wash up over here until we start the climb up the ridge. We have some little informal switchbacks here, and then this is where we gain that second ridge. Also worth noting, the old trail, you can see it very clearly here, goes up there. It's all blocked off now, and they're very clear about not going on there. I believe it goes on private property now, and this is actually a little bit nicer anyway. So head up here, but you can see we rejoin that there. Over here are the sawtooths, and then we're going to go up along the ridge towards Chaparrosa Peak, and this is the part where I told you it starts to do a little bit of an up and down as we go over here. That's where that big boulder on the rock was, right down there. Here's the split. We're going to go up, gain the ridge right here, and then up to the peak, Chaparrosa Peak. From there, back down, and now we are on the Indian Spring Trail. And again, this is an up and down. You can see we have some little rollers in here, up and down, all the way over here. And this is where we might make that hard right, and the trail goes into that steep canyon right there. And this is probably the steepest part. If you do a hike this the other way, this is the steepest part as we come up. We go down here, and now we are in Pipes Canyon. This is Pipes Canyon right there, and this is where I mentioned there was a road earlier. The road basically used to connect Pioneertown, where the hike starts, with the Big Bear area. And you can still, the road is ripped up here, but you can still get on the road from Onyx Peak, which is up here. But anyway, we're going to head down there. But you wouldn't, as you hike down there, you would never guess that there was once a road through here. But you could see it's lush down through the canyon. Here are the ruins where we have that little side trip. And then we're basically following this trail all the way down Pipes Wash back to the parking area. And that is the hike.